I am exceptionally happy to have my dear friend Pamela, and I actually want to hear you say your name in Swedish. So I just love the way you speak.
Pamela von Sabljar.
Good Lord, listen to that.
So exciting. I love it. Pamela, amazing, such a pleasure, such a joy. I've always been turned on with your presence since day one when Aaron brought us into contact. I absolutely love your mission, what you're doing with the Nordic women pieces and everything else that you're doing. So to have you on and talking about sensuality, intimacy, juiciness, and how that affects especially powerful women is very exciting for me today.
Yeah, I think it's been, how many years has it been since we last got to sit down and speak? It's been about a year now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So what are you up to? Why do you do it? I want to hear an update on you. I literally haven't sat down with you. So
nobody knows you. So what are you doing?
Yeah. Let's start from
How
there.
How amazing are you? This woman is incredible.
Thank you. I'm going to breathe and take in all this love shower here. First, I just want to say thank you, because you are constantly inspiring me and animating me every time we meet up and we share stories from the explorations and innovations and the edges that we're walking on. So thank you for having me. So what am I up to?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
What's your passion?
Yeah. My passion is to invite people in general, but right now and for a couple of years I've been focusing on female leaders. And what animates me is to invite them to a new state of consciousness. And to simplify it, I would say, and I don't know if it's really simplifying it, but it's like living Eros.
Ooh. Okay, well, I'm in.
Uh-oh. Tell us a bit more. What does that mean to you?
No, like if I'm just gonna, like what I see in the world right now, it is that, and it's not like I see it, I learn from others who see better complexity patterns than I do. And I try to catch up to understand like the bigger worldview of what goes on right now. The world becomes increasingly more and more complex, uncertain, unknown, and it's really fast changing.
Yes.
So the old leadership styles, they're outdated. It's hardly like, and the pandemic showed us that as well, that we couldn't create like 5 hours plans or 10 hours plans. So for me, connect deeper to what I call Eros, like life force energy, is a way as a leader to come to a space where you can navigate by listening deeply into what aligns us. And that seems to be like the right next step in this moment.
That's super sexy because a lot of times in at least our industry, a lot of people don't want to talk about intimacy and sex. And yet I've been saying for a long time, I don't want to be led by people who are half dead and turned off and ill. Like I would love my leaders to be full of life and inspired and joy. So yes. I love that you are advocating for this more in the world.
So what would you say then is the old style leadership? And a little compare and contrast between those to make it even more clear.
I would say that in the modern Western society, we lean towards feeling that the rational mind is the biggest intelligence that we have. And that's not my experience. It's a great intelligence.
Yes.
But the wholeness of our intelligence is more than our rational mind.
Yeah.
So allowing ourselves as leaders to go on this personal, if you want to say it personal or professional or both, journey of accessing and embodying intelligence. And that is more than our rational mind. So if I would just start there, I would say starting the core. The old leadership paradigm also holds the story that we're separated and that we need to control. And we need to know, like, what is the strategy for the next, like...
Don't we need to know?
It seems like we need both. Like, it's really easy to jump into either off, but I really would like to, as much as I'm capable of, to stay in the the both and.
Yes.
But what I see is that what comes forward more and more is that what if the world is actually interconnected? What if it's we are an ecosystem? This is like questions that the natives like have known like almost forever.
Yes.
So it's about bringing back indigenous understanding into the modern society and then move from there. So a modern, like a next paradigm of leadership is we are connected. There is something bigger, like we're part of a bigger ecosystem. So how can we trust that we can sense what is possibly the next thing and to lead from there?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Would you also say that some of that is invoking leadership in those who follow your leadership?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's for me, living Eros is really about everyone coming on board in their radical self-expression and gets turned on by their like mission or work, and by that be fully engaged and feeling and sensing into, okay, what's next and what's next, and then using your rational mind to like discern and say, is this the right timing? Is this the right place? So yeah, definitely.
I mean, we have definitely seen the impact of the people that we've worked with, and we bring pleasure as an integrated part into all aspects of life, and not just sort of this thing you do and it's just this itch that you need to scratch or kind of an afterthought at the end of the day. Where did this come to you? Like, how did this come alive inside yourself? Like, and what was that switch like?
I think it's not one. Like I don't think it's like one turning point. I would say like it's several turning points, and I would also say that I feel that I'm still in these turning points because it seems to be a never evolving ending.
Like it's an ongoing journey.
It's an ongoing journey. But I would say that like one thing I would say is like when I came to a hard stop when I burned out, and I was like, okay, I'm creative, I'm driven, I'm passionate, I am a doer, I can get the shit to happen, and then I just burned out because of the pressure and that I put on myself. I couldn't cope with it, so that was one. I said, like, is this really it?
And then
is it worth it? And then I like. Another turning point that if I look back, is like I went to a very it was like a 9 days program of inner development, and we had like 24 hours when we had like a death ritual. So you should go deep into inquiry and journaling and exercises around your own death. And when I looked at okay, what have I accomplished? I mean, if this is my time, am I satisfied? And I was truly satisfied because I was like, bucket list, check, 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 check. And then I was like, okay, that's great. But then I was like there was something subtle, like whispering inside of me. And that was like, just one word came, and that was pleasure. And I was like, oh, wow, I haven't actually enjoyed. I haven't felt, I haven't sensed. My sensuality was like really locked down. And there was like a moment like, wow, so what would happen if I allowed myself to bring in even more pleasure? So that was my starting point. And
what happened?
Well, we'll save that for the second part. We're going to save that for the second part. Listen to that.
Yes, I'm getting hot. It's hot in here. Well, I'm interested too, like, did you notice that you were the only person like this, or did you start to see this in other women in your circle of professionals?
And tell everyone, where are you based, so that way they can...
Yeah, I'm based in Sweden.
All right.
I work international, but I'm based in Sweden, and like half of my career has been like in Sweden, and then it moved outside as well. If I look at the culture of Sweden, like we have self-independent women, we have like financial security, we're allowed into all the education, it's been that for a long time. I think the world look at us as one of the most equal countries in the world, and we are. Like if you look at the studies, And that wave have also just gone to that pendulum swing of women becoming men. So I could see I could see that I was more a man and a woman.
Okay.
Yeah, more masculine.
about that?
Yeah, this is like, I'm gonna like slow down so I can discern and be clear, because in the starting of my career, I was like a hardcore feminist, like what we today call left-wing feminist, or radical feminist. That's what I was then, like almost like 30 years ago. So I have a lot of compassion for all the ones who are finding themselves there.
Yes.
And I moved and I've rewritten my story, because when I deepened my exploration, like I've been on the tantric path for 25 years, but the first 10-ish years, it was more about the wisdom.
Yes.
And like to really live from a place of including everything in life in the present moment.
Beautiful.
And then I went from there, and the sexual journey, like to explore my sexuality and my intimacy through Tantra. And then I came to several very, very, very deep experiences that today I would possibly call them mystical, where I was like, okay, there's no way my rational mind can follow what I've experienced. I can't make sense of it right now. But I could notice it ruptured my worldview.
Wow.
And I realized that there was something beyond sex. We have biological sex.
Yes.
We have gender, that is how you identify. But then we also have universal forces that I would call masculine and feminine, or yin or yang. And then through my exploration in the sexual space, I realized that there are some core essence traits for me being a woman and holding the feminine. I have both inside of me. Everyone has that. And through that exploration, I realized that there were parts, because I have stories around what womanhood is through my childhood conditioning, through the society condition. So parts of me that I would say today it's all about being a woman, or the qualities of the feminine. Like I suppressed them because I had a story that was equally valued. So that's where I started to like, okay, wow, I was wrong. I've been writing books about gender pedagogy and so on. And I realized that some of this was really good and some of it I was wrong. So
that's always a really interesting moment in one's career.
Yeah.
Where you're going in one particular direction and you think this is this.
Yeah.
And then suddenly something like 180 degrees. I mean, that happened with me in my dissertation. I was shocked. I was like, I am sure I'm going to find the one practice that is going to change everyone's life. And then I get this call from the mathematician, and he's like, well, you might want to look at this because they're a really significant piece that you haven't mentioned to me. I'm like, oh gosh, what is it? And he's like, there's lasting positive transformation even when they don't do any practice. And it really it messed me up for a while, because my whole identity was around, I give practices, I give techniques, and this is what happens. But that's not what I was doing. I was holding, as you were saying, a container that was so powerful that just being in that container was creating the shift without the need for the techniques. So that completely changed my career at that point. So I don't know what your changing point was, but I totally get the whoa, head spinning. Okay, we're going this way now. Yeah.
I find it so much more interesting, as opposed to just preaching an ideology, that we get a chance to continue to be a student of life and allowing life then to revolutionize the way that we see the world. And that's what education is. It's not just educating others, it's taking in the education ourselves. And I like that's one of the things you said at the end, was that, hey, well, I'm still on this path and still learning. And that to me is so much more fun than just having the answer, because the discoveries are these kind of multi-level layers that just kind of come cyclically to you as you actually live it out in life. And the fact that that can be guided by pleasure and the amazing experiences that come along the way. Oh, yeah.
My mind is totally turned on now.
Well, good.
My heart
love that. Yum, yum, yum.
Yeah.
So I want to save the juicy bits. We're going to move into that in a few minutes. But before we do that, I'd love to just hear from you, and you observe maybe in your own clients, powerful women who have everything, but they're not connected to Eros. What are the symptoms that you notice? What's going on? What are their complaints or...
Yeah, so that they could recognize it. What would you say to yourself from before so you could recognize this is where I was?
Most of my like powerful female leaders, where they start in the inquiry, like in our conversation, is that they can notice that they do not have the capacity to be present. So even if they have, like, they're wealthy, they're very well successful in the material world, they can actually not enjoy their beautiful garden.
Okay, so that's not present just with
Presence,
sex, but just in general.
Yeah,
life.
in general. Like very often they have like their libido is dead because they live in very high testosterone environments. So they need to have their cortisol and their adrenaline like pumping high. And when a female needs to do that, her libidos drop. So presence, drop of libido, and just like a sense, like a deep sense that something is truly missing.
Yeah.
And it's a felt state, or is it more of a cognitive thought?
No, I would more say how I receive it, like it's a felt state.
Okay.
Yeah.
And by
And then pain, like
okay,
pain, tensions.
Yeah.
And then they can notice sometimes that they use like distractions, like shopping, traveling, drinking, like that glass of wine every evening, just to come to space. Oh, can I relax? So that many of them start with saying, I'm longing to relax. I can't relax. Even when I have time off, I can't relax.
Yeah.
The
head
is spinning. No, head is spinning. My body is like still on.
What would you say that so if they're not present and say with their garden or other things, what is their head spinning around? What are they normally distracted by when they tell you?
I would say more like it's almost like their project managers are always on.
Yeah.
Like what's the next task, what's to do, to plan. Doesn't matter if the kids, if they're like the household or if it's the work, they're like the mind is just on. What is the next task? Yeah, I would say that's...
It's like the taskmaster.
Yeah.
And not in a fun way.
No.
Yeah.
And also, well, the younger generation of female leaders who are in different organizations, like corporate organizations, they look up to see where is the woman that I can have as my role model, and then they look up and then they see all these women that are more men than women, and they're like, that's not what I want.
Yes.
Because the younger generation has like, there is something else that wants to come. They feel that there is something else possible.
Well, good. We have some hope.
Yeah, but also they also have like, and I have had many of these conversations. There's also in that younger generation, some of them can also see that the older generation of women, they pave the way.
Yeah.
Because if they wouldn't be there, sometimes sacrificing a lot to be there, there wouldn't be all the younger women being there.
Yeah.
So I think I really just want to honor that as well, because this has not been an easy journey always for the ones who acknowledge it. Because I know if someone if I would tell me this when I was in that, I would say, fuck off. That's not true. I can handle it. I'm not lesser than any man.
Yeah. Well, what's been interesting in our work as well, especially Aaron's body work when he works with clients, is finding out that it's not the pain that has the greatest aversion; it's actually pleasure. So people are almost more willing to look at their pain and workshop their pain and workshop their problems. But when it comes to the opening up infinite possibility into pleasure, there's that's terrifying. Yeah. So I'd love to move into our more explicit part of the conversation and head into some of your observations around that.
But I also want to say there that I received there's a paradigm shift also like in the trauma area, like trauma work area, that for a long time that's what we probably out of evolution should be doing. Like to look at the trauma, look at the problem, look at the pain. But I've seen like a great shift that just in my own work, like the last 10 years, 5 to 10 years, that I always start in the pleasure. And then whatever trauma that needs to be cared for, that's holding the pleasure away,
it'll rise.
it comes. And then it's cared for it does something to the nervous system when it's held in pleasure. Like it's just, what I receive is just like a faster transformation and also seems to be more sustainable.
And now we're having like the science starting to catch up with that. We're explaining like the whole vagal system and what happens and the two sides of the brain and all these kind of reaction states, amygdala states, frontal brain. Like there's so much information now. But essentially, to keep it simple, when the body is in a softening, it's in a yes space, and there's consciousness present, which could look like love or respect or just being with someone. It seems to, in those states, evoke, okay, I'm ready now to be seen in terms of the healing journey. And that also includes, I'm ready to be seen in my pleasure.
Yes. And I also receive it contains, sorry, stepping on you. I'm ready to be seen in my power. Because I also see that connection between leaders. Like I say, if you as a leader want to work with your leadership, work with your sexuality.
Oof.
Because
hang on. If you want to work on your leadership,
work with your sexuality.
Okay, can you just dissect that? Because that is like seriously goosebumps. That is amazing. So please, can we dive just a little bit into what do you mean by that?
One thing, for example, if we step into the bedroom, like just take that room as the room where we're doing the sex. It's like step into the bedroom and we start to dress up our clothes. Like what comes up in my head, like the stories that comes up in my head when I enter an intimate space is the stories that takes me away from being in power and sovereignty in my everyday life in all areas.
Correct.
So by being curious, so sometimes I challenge high performing leaders. It's like you want like an extreme course, right? And it's like and it's like because if you want to see yourself, that's the place you will do it fastest. So whatever stories, whatever like beliefs that is actually making yourself smaller in your everyday life and in your decisions, you will see it there. So that's one thing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And are they willing to go there?
Absolutely. That's the ones I work with. And of course, there's a lot who is not willing, and that's okay. But that's not my customers.
No, and it's probably not our audience either.
So before we switch into the other side, the membership side, I would love for you just to give a quick, how would you communicate what's on the other side for those women? Like, so the part of you that would have been like, hey, fuck off in the past, what would you tell her is on the other side as that like carrot or that motivator for whichever part of her is necessary to be motivated?
Okay, I will just come with the two impulses that comes out of your question. One is I heard a definition of sensuality that I really love, and I think the person who said it was Kate Mayer, I think. But you can Google and then you can know. She said, sensuality is the pleasure of the world that we can receive through our senses, through all our five senses. And for me, that just means that my life will be more animated. I will more bring more color, fragrance, touch. Just like today, when my body picks my clothes today. It's like a silk, cashmere, like soft, you know. Like it's like because then I walk around in the day and I'm like, just enjoying, like just the fact of enjoying having clothes on. But like I think I would say honestly, most of my life I walked around and didn't even pay attention, like. Just out of that, or eating my food and not tasting it or smelling it, and then overeating or eating too little or eating the wrong things that's actually really good for my body and in the state that I am, or just walk around and receive visually like nature and people and babies and old ones and animals with an awe and wonder of life, small things, and that's where I receive like. A state of joy comes forward, like joy divine, like the joy of just being alive. And it's just the small things. So that's, I would say that's one thing I would say. And the deeper part is And that's like when I go there, it touches me because there is like the depth of this reality, and it's to have a close connection to life force or Eros, like the creative impulse of life itself. It is to be so truly guided.
Yeah.
And like to be guided through life and having faith, like really trust that.
Yeah.
As equally, as I also say, like when I've come to a space where I'm truly connected, because when I'm not connected fully to my sexuality, I'm not fully connected to my body, and then I don't have full embodiment.
Yes.
And in that, I can't receive the world properly.
And there's a lot of information
Yes.
that's vital to be receiving
Yes.
for creating and leading the way into new landscapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just like, and now when that happens, like that connection really happened. It's about reconnecting because I was born with it. Life just like things just happen in life that took it away from me. But when I connected back to it, I also came to a place of like deep trust to the intelligence of my body.
Yeah.
So life gives, life takes. That's the fabric of life. And knowing that my body can handle shock, it can handle deep grief, ecstasy, rage.
Yes.
So it means that life can happen and I can trust it. I can I can be carefree in it, and that doesn't mean I don't have hardship or trouble.
Yeah.
It's just that I can trust this. This will, if I just allow it to do its thing, it will.
Exactly.
It's resistant, and it's resilience. It's resistant, and it's designed to navigate life.
Yeah.
So then I will get more courageous. Of
Beautiful compass.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then also like in that deeper part when you ask that question, knowing that if I choose, because for me it's a practice, to come back to connect to Eros and live from that space, then I can trust that life will show me what's the next right step.
Yes.
And that's like where the leadership part of me goes in. I have seen women leaders starting to navigate, because most often when we unpack it a bit, they already have a sense of it.
Yeah.
But in our work, they come to a place of acknowledging it fully, and by that become more conscious of it.
Yes.
And then when they start to really trust, boom, boom, then they are in an ever-emergent process of unfolding the potential in the group, in the presentation, in the boardroom.
All the synchronicities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The magic. Yeah.
The way that lands to me when I hear you say this, I almost picture the before state is this kind of closed circuit system of information that you get trained into. And then it's important because you need to be seen as an expert and speak from that place of expertise and have a system that then you can help others, work within, navigate, whether it's your business, whether it's the way that you're inspiring people to speak, or whether, you're a politician making leadership choices. But that switch, though, is becoming an open circuit system where you don't throw out the system that you had before, but now you can continue to get inspired and to update that literally through the sensorial system of the body. Because as you walk pleasurably through life, you're getting all this added stimulation, which then brings the creativity and dynamism that keeps that system alive and forever growing. And if you're able to do that, and then you make other people feel alive, all of a sudden now, you're not in that head looping cycle, because the same information will just kind of loop the same way until new source information comes in, and then you realize, wow, life, the world around me is guiding. And there's something just beautiful to feel and witness that alive in someone such as yourself, because it's the difference between, oh, that's powerful information and really interesting up here, and then the power that you feel and see, like when there's this massive wave or some force of nature. It's just a different level, and it's not without the science. It's just that, and like that felt state reality.
Yeah.
It's like the power of the erotic is both magnetic in that it pulls in, but it's also radiant in that it shines out.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
And
Turn on!
hey gorgeous, do you have one of these? Is it covered in dust or cobwebs? Well, you're certainly not alone, because so many of us will get one of these and then never use it. I want to change that, so I'm inviting you to a practice session with myself where I want to reveal all my best tips to successfully get you started using this yoni egg. So please register at thejadeegg.com. You're going to be joined by women from all over the world. It's going to be an exciting class with all my best tips. So please, thejadeegg.com, save your spot, and I look forward to seeing you in the class.